Greetings everyone, welcome to this advance. We are in Clutch Legends for the white pieces. We have 5 times world champion and absolute legend. We have Viswanathan facing off against Garry Kasparov, and this is going to be a very tough round. Here, this is the blitz section, and this is chess 960, so you can know there's going to be a lot of craziness. Two rapid games have ended in a draw. Viswanathan had chances for the white pieces in the first game, many chances to crush Garry, but the thing is that he was not able to convert. Will he be able to convert with in the blitz section with the white pieces? Well, let's just see. So without further ado, let's start with this game. Here Viswanathan starts with e4. We have e6, g3 and d5, and on just move 3 you could go for a move like e caps on d5. After e captures d4, and now after g6 you play bishop to b4. Rook is under attack, you have to defend with the knight, and after knight to c3 the play goes on. But after d5, here immediately f4 was played, and f4, it's not like it's a bad move or something, but the thing is that it's just generally not seen. Here just e captures, bishop captures, g6 now, and the trouble is once you capture with the bishop you have to move the bishop back as well to just lose a tempo, and that is somewhere not desirable. Here just knight to c3, knight bishop to c6, bishop to f3, and here just knight to e7. Now just comes bishop to f2, knight to f5, and here just queen to e2. Knight to d4 now, attacking the queen. Bishop captures, queen captures, and an immediate castles queen side and king side castle by Garry. And let's see what happens here. Bishop caps on c6 was played, knight captures, knight to f3, attacking the queen. Queen moves, and just knight to e5, just centralizing that knight. Rook a to d8 was played, and you could go for a move like rook d to e1 in this position is absolutely fine. Maybe you play knight captures, f captures, and maybe rook to d4. But the thing is that after queen to e3, c5, you play king to b1, a6, your position is absolutely fine. Most likely black is going to double up, but with perfect play this position should end in a draw. But after rook a to d8, we have queen to e4, and queen to e4, normally centralizing the queen is generally the principal idea, but in this position it gives black a bit too much because you allow this rook to d4 to come in and that too with a tempo. You could also go for this knight caps on e5 as well. That's absolutely fine. You could also go for f5, but I mean all crazy moves in this position. F5 was played by Garry, and now you go for queen to e2, knight captures on e5, and just f captures, and here just a6 rook to d4, and now just going for this rook to f4, rook f to d8, and finally rook captures, queen captures, and just rook to e1. So the trouble is you're pushed onto the back foot, and it's very difficult to try and do anything in this position. Here just c6 was played, but now just comes queen to e3, asking for a trade. Bishop to g7 first, not trading. Queen captures, rook captures, and the resulting endgame is a little bit favorable towards black, but Viswanathan has to be really careful, otherwise this endgame could just blow open, and it could just go worse and worse and worse. Here just d3 was played, g5 now, and now just comes this a3. And the move that you want to play in this position to keep the advantage is rook to d7. Not at all an easy move to spot. The rook is a spectacular piece on d4. Why would you ask to go it back? It's just crazy, but it works, because here after b4 you play king to f7, b5 now, g4, b captures, and after b captures you play king to b1, h5, king to a2, h4, king to b3, rook to b7 check, king to c4, rook to b2, and after rook to e2 you can see that there is play towards on sides of the board. Rook is just entirely covering up. Your pieces are unfortunately in a bind, and you're also targeting this. Rook is almost overloaded, but still it's very difficult position, could go in either way, but black is the preferable one. But after a3, king to f7 was played, knight to e2 now, rook to d7, and just d4, c5 immediately, and c3 was played. But now just comes c captures, and h5, trying to push those pawns towards the queen side, king side basically, and this pawn pushes are going to be very difficult to hold on to. A king to c2 was played, bishop to h6, king to d3, g4, now just finally pushing those pawns. And if you go for a move like knight to f4 in this position, looks decent, but is not, because after bishop captures, g captures, you play rook to c7. That rook is occupying the entire file in the endgame, and this is not good. If you go for d5, e captures, e6 check, king to f6, and after king to d4 you play rook to e7, and most likely this position should end in a draw after king captures, but it's going to be very nasty. But after g4 we have a4, bishop to g5, a5, h4, and b4 now. But now just comes a6, we have rook to b1, bishop to d8, and knight to c3. So definitely white is making progress, but it's very difficult to try and do anything. Both players are playing on seconds now. King to g6, knight to a4 was played. Now just comes this bishop to e7, knight to c5. And do you trade, or do you allow that knight to stay there? I mean, I'm not going to, definitely if I'm playing with a black piece, I'm definitely not allowing that knight to stay there. Bishop caps on c5 was played, b captures. Now just comes this f4, g captures, and just king to f5. We have king to e3, rook to g7, and finally going for this rook to g1, rook to g8, rook to b1. Looks like both players are ready to repeat moves and maybe just call it a draw. But rook to g7 and d5 was played. E captures, rook to b6 and g3, and it looks like, you're just pushing that pawn all the way, and it's very difficult to try and stop this. But the thing is, there is a way here. King to f3 was played, and the threat is very simple. You're just basically running into a checkmate in this position if you push the pawn. So here in this position, rook to g6 was played, challenging the rook. But the move that you want to play in this position is a very nasty one. You have to be extremely careful, and I'm going to ask you to pause the video, try and find out the only winning move or only drawing move in this position for Vishy sir. Have at it. So congratulations to everyone who's able to find this move. The move is h captures on g3, and the thing is that you cannot even recapture back with h captures on g3. If you go for h captures on g3, this position just completely falls apart for you, because now comes rook captures, pawn captures, king captures, and after king to f5 you play king to f2. You cannot capture this because the pawn pushes, and if you play, anything other than this is completely over. Even if you play king to e4, e6, and I'm just promoting, there is nothing you can do. And the thing is that if you want to play it precisely in this position, maybe you have to go for rook captures, a rook captures on g3 instead of this pawn captures. And after king to e2, we play king captures on f4, rook captures on b7, king captures on e5, and after rook to b6, you're just allowing the pawn push to happen. Rook captures on g7, but after rook to g6, so rook captures on g6 was played, and unfortunately this is not a good move in this position. This endgame is now very difficult to try and prevent for losing in this position. But the thing is that after king captures, h captures, and just h3 is the winning move. G4, but now just comes d4, f5 check, king to e7, e6, but h2 comes, and now you have to understand those two pass pawns are a bit too unbearable. King to g2 was tried, but just comes d3, and you cannot stop both of them. That's why it was on this move, on just move 50, that the legend Vishy sir resigned the game. And unfortunately, the first blitz game goes to Garry Kasparov, but Vishy sir is gonna either have to make a comeback in the second blitz game, or he has the rapid games as well. So it's going to be very exciting. This is a 3-day event, and let's see what happens in all of them. So yeah, thank you all for watching. I'll be coming back with such amazing games, so stay tuned to the channel, stay updated, and I'll be seeing you guys very, very soon. Thank you very, very much for watching.